a very, very nice introduction. What I can't do is know what the color red, black, or white actually means. So the new color scheme for today is purple, so we're going to go with that. I'm not here to give you a stand-up routine today. I'm here to tell you a story. And it's a story about a girl called Yasmin and a teacher who is me, and a problem that she had, and a realization that I had that I was the person who had to solve her problem. So let me take you to the background of this story. Now, I was working in London, and in London, students are a lot naughtier than they are here in India, like a lot naughtier. And there were these two girls. There was Yasmin and Shaniqua. Now, Yasmin had just arrived from Iraq. She didn't speak any English. She'd never been to school before. She was 14, I think, and she had no idea what was going on. She had no words. She couldn't write. She couldn't read. She didn't know how to say anything to her friends. Shaniqua was the complete opposite. Shaniqua was the most confident girl in the class. She was also the rudest girl in the class. And she had no problems telling a teacher when he really wasn't doing a very good job. I will give you an example. Very near the beginning of term, I had my first class with that group. And they came in, and Shaniqua had a bag on the table. And I said, "Good morning." She was like, I said, "Good morning, can you put your bag on the floor?" She was like, "What, me? Why would I want to put my bag on the floor? Why would I want to put my bag on the floor? Why is my bag going on the floor? Who are you? Who is this joker? Who is this joker? Why is he talking to me? Why do I want to put my bag on the floor? I put my bag on the table because I want my bag on the table. So you can't tell me to put my bag on the floor. Who are you anyway? Are you my father? No. Are you my grandfather? No. So who are you to tell me what to do? Who are you to tell me what to do? I might need, you're so boring, sir. You're so boring. I might need a pillow. Pillow. So I can sleep through your lesson. I was like, okay, thank you very much. I'm just going to leave that now by people. And Yasmin was sitting next to her, and she was obviously laughing, but she didn't really know exactly what was going on. So this is the background. And I was thinking, I've got these two students who do not like learning. They don't want to learn. They don't necessarily understand what's going on. It's my job as their teacher to help them to work out what exactly is going on. How can I put my knowledge across to them? Now, I was teaching them Romeo and Juliet. Now, think of Yasmin. She's just arrived in England. She doesn't even know how to say, "I'm hungry." She doesn't even know how to say, "My name is Yasmin." She doesn't know where her address is. And suddenly, I have to teach her similes and metaphors and Romeo up at the balcony so she can pass her exam. How can a teacher do that? I caught Yasmin. This isn't Yasmin. This is a Korean boy. I caught Yasmin one day passing a note in class to Shaniqua, and I thought it was a funny note. And we'd just been learning about similes and metaphors. What was a simile? And I'd written on the board, a simile is where you compare one thing to something else using the words like and as. And Yasmin had written very nicely, a simile is where you compare something to something else using the words like and as. I went over to her, I confiscated this note, and I saw that it said, "I don't know what is simile." And that was her spelling of the word simile. I don't know what is simile. And that was the moment I realized this is a problem that I need to solve very, very quickly. Because she's doing all the work. She's writing stuff down, but she has no idea what is going on. She doesn't understand anything. There are many different styles of learning. And this is where I believe the solution to this problem comes. You can be a tactile learner. You can be an auditory learner. You can be a kinesthetic learner. And it's kinesthetic learning, acting, drama, doing something that I want to talk about today. Now, it's very difficult to find sources on the internet that give an accurate statistics, but it's thought that only 8% of children are auditory learners. So if you give a lecture and talk to them and they write things down, perhaps only 8% will understand, whereas almost 50% can understand something by doing it. So kinesthetic learning, what is kinesthetic learning? Kinesthetic learning is getting out of your seat. Kinesthetic learning is trying a role play. Kinesthetic learning is doing something physically so you can embody what it is and understand what it is. The other thing I want to talk about is something I learned when I was working for the Royal Shakespeare Company, which is ensemble learning. This is working together as a group. So using Shaniqua, using Yasmin together, using the other students in together they can learn more than they could ever learn if it was a single relationship between me as a teacher and them as a student. It's moving the teacher to the role as facilitator, rather than just the giver of information. So a lot of the activities you're going to see today came from the Royal Shakespeare Company, which is where I learned them. There's an academic background to this. In 1989, the UK government published a report called the Cox Report about why drama should be taught in schools and why drama should be used in the classroom outside of schools. They said that drama is creative. It helps students gain understanding of themselves. It helps students gain confidence in themselves. It helps students to solve problems, make decisions, work together collaboratively. It can help them explore feelings and social situations and moral dilemmas. And these are the things that Yasmin needed. Yasmin needed to learn how to be social. Shaniqua needed to learn how to be social. They needed to learn to work together. They needed to be confident. They didn't necessarily need to know exactly what a simile was, but I'm sure it would be very useful if they could understand the feelings of Romeo and Juliet, who were two students about the same age as they were. Going a little further back than the Cox Report is another guy called Vygotsky, who's not appearing on the screen right now. And Vygotsky was a psychologist, and he said that education... Oh, there we go. That's my nice animation for you. Vygotsky said nothing at the moment. He said that, here we go, finally. He was talking about how students learn. How do students create concepts in their head? How can you get something from the outside world into a child's head so that they actually understand it, they can manipulate it? And he said that it was a creative and not a passive process. So kinesthetic learning is active learning. Writing something down is passive learning. And he said that in order for students to learn, it needs to be active. It needs to be creative. He also said that education is an effect of community, that students can learn a lot more from each other. They can discover something together than they can learn on their own. Now, to tell you what these activities are, I've made a few videos. I use my GCSE drama class here. What's very nice is I said to them, can you behave a little bit like a class in London? Can you be a bit naughty? They had no idea how to be naughty in the classroom, as you'll see on the videos. There are 4 activities I'm going to show you briefly. The first one is ensemble storytelling. The second one is how to break down concepts into small chunks using drama. The third one is adding actions. And the last one is a discussion that I filmed at the end of the class. Now, the students in these videos have never seen the text before. They haven't studied Romeo and Juliet. I didn't introduce them to the idea. It was completely done off the cuff. So let's have a look at the first video, where the students had to act out the parts in a story. Ta-da! And once upon a time, there was a city called Verona. And in Verona, there were 2 lads walking around the town who were part of a gang. They were the Montagues. They were walking around town, it was very hot, they had this swagger, they were the cool guys around town. They were looking for a fight. Also in town were 2 other lads from a rival gang called the Capulets. And when they saw each other, they wanted to start to fight. On her balcony, thinking about the hunky man that she had met at the party, and wishing she didn't have to marry Paris. That hunky man was Romeo, and he climbed over her wall into her garden and looked up at her on the balcony. He said, "What light through yonder window breaks?"
What light through yonder window breaks?
It is the east and Juliet is the sun.
It is the east and Juliet is the sun.
And Juliet was looking out and she said, "Romeo, Romeo,
Romeo, Romeo,
wherefore art thou Romeo?"
wherefore art thou Romeo?
They found each other, they agreed to get married. Whoosh. So I apologize for the slight horror film camera work going on there. And maybe you couldn't hear what was being said, but it was about the two families having fights with each other and about these two people falling in love. Now let's think of Yasmin. First of all, Yasmin can see that there's a fight. She can see that there's two people falling in love. Shaniqua, on the other hand, if she'd been in that class, she would have really enjoyed being one of the people walking around in Verona having a fight. And she would have been able to use her energy in that way. The next video I'm going to show you is one where you break the text down into little chunks. And I'm looking at Romeo's speech, but soft what light through yonder window breaks, where Juliet's up on the balcony. He's looking up at her. So what I've done, I say something, they reply with the line from the play. I say something else, they reply with the next line from the play, and so on and so forth. Oh, there it is. But soft what light through yonder window breaks, 'tis the east and Juliet is the sun. Arise, fair sun, and kill the envious moon. See, she leans her cheek upon that hand. Oh, that I were a glove upon that hand, that I might touch that cheek. So here is the video. You've got to be very quiet. What can you see over there?
What light through yonder window breaks?
In which direction?
It is the east,
And who's that?
and Juliet is the sun.
And tell me about the sun.
Arise, fair sun, and kill the envious moon.
So the envious moon is jealous of the sun because she's so beautiful. That's interesting. What's she doing now?
See, she leans her cheek upon her hand.
And what do you want?
Oh, that I were love upon that hand,
What, so you can touch her hand?
that I might touch that cheek.
Thank you. I'll stop there. So maybe at this point in the class, Yasmin might be understanding 20 to 30% of what's going on. Shaniqua, as a native English speaker, might be understanding 60 to 70%. The next thing to do, the penultimate one I'm going to show you, is adding actions to that speech in pairs.
But soft, what light through yonder window breaks?
It is the east, and Juliet is the sun. Arise, fair sun, and kill the envious moon. See, she leans her cheek upon her hand.
Oh, that
I will glove upon that hand.
that I might touch that cheek.
Oh, Romeo, wherefore thou Romeo?
So what you can also see here is the text is broken down. So Yasmin would only have one line that she had to deal with, one line that she had to understand. But she could see the imagery in the whole class. So this is what ensemble learning is, the class working together to bring something to life. Now finally, I'm going to show you a discussion that we had after this was finished about what the students had learned about Romeo and Juliet. Now bear in mind that, as I said earlier, they have never come across this text before. So anything that they said is not scripted in any way. It's their instant responses to the text and what we've done. I hope you can. Okay, so the question I want to ask you now is, how does Romeo express his love for Juliet? How does he show the audience what he is feeling? Rahul.
It's like a good stalking. So he's stalking her in a good way by, like, we see he's climbed up the wall at first. The way he describes his feeling towards her is very descriptive and intimate.
Thank you. So descriptive and intimate. Drew.
He says, arise, fair sun, and kill the envious moon. At that time, fair depicted beauty. Fair people, fair women were considered beautiful. And the sun, it shows warmth and love. So
Very good. Excellent answer. Yannick.
Also, his manner of speaking is very poetic, and poems are generally associated with a sense of romance. So his mannerisms of speaking show that he's truly in love with the woman he's speaking to, which is Juliet.
Yeah. Does anyone know that's a good answer also. Does anyone know the language technique? If Juliet is the sun, if someone is something else. Yeah, it's a metaphor. So what kind of imagery does he use? So we've got the sun. What else is there? Visual imagery.
So there's tactile imagery.
Tactile imagery. What things does he mention? Not just the sun, what's the other thing you mentioned? The glove. And what's envious?
Moon.
The moon. Where would you find the sun and the moon?
In the sky.
In the sky. Why is he using a sky metaphor for Juliet? Why would he use those particular words? Alright.
So I know, I'm just guessing because she's high up in the windowsill, so she's up.
Okay, so physically she's higher. That's one answer. Rehan.
Maybe he considers the two of them separate from the world, so they're high above, whereas everyone is below.
Very good answer. So they're separated from everyone else. Drew?
You can also show that the sun, you can't touch the sun, it's far away from you. You can depict that separation, that even though he loves her, he can't get to her.
Excellent answer. Okay, so maybe you didn't hear all of those words, but that's good in a way because that's how Yasmin would understand the classroom. But what you could see, lots of this, so they were up here, he was down there, they were separated from the world. So even if you didn't understand the word metaphor, you would be able to understand a lot more. Now, I did these exact same exercises with Yasmin's class, and I want to finish off by showing you what Yasmin wrote about this text. Now, the spelling is her own. She wrote, so she'd been in England maybe 2-3 months by this point, so she had learned to write a little bit, maybe even 4 months. She wrote, Romeo and Juliet, they had a love, but they didn't know their different family. So they can't marry because them family and Romeo and family, they had a fight. When Juliet, she know that Romeo is a different family, she said, Romeo, Romeo. She loved him. And Romeo said, Juliet, the sun, the moon, jealous from her. He loved Juliet so much, and she loved him too. He was saying that Juliet is the sun. She is so beautiful than the moon. Now, for Yasmin to understand that would be impossible if I had given her a lecture about how Romeo and Juliet loved each other. But she doesn't yet know the words simile and metaphor, but that can be put in later. But she understands the characters, she understands the situation, she understands the concept, and she's beginning to understand how language can be used to show feelings and emotions. Now, that's the end of the story of Yasmin and Shaniqua. But what are the implications of this for you guys? How does this work? Because nobody here doesn't speak English, and nobody is anywhere close to as naughty as Shaniqua ever was. First of all, this kind of stuff can be used outside the drama classroom. Think about other subjects. What about science? If you're learning photosynthesis, once upon a time there was a plant, and he was a very sad plant because it was very, very dark, and his leaves were so small. One day he called out to the sun, Sun, please shine your light down on me so I can grow. And so the sun came around one morning, and slowly enough the leaves began to grow. So you could use it in science. In history, once upon a time, there was a man called Hitler who was in prison. He'd written a book. He was very angry about what was happening in Germany, and so on and so forth. Anything can happen. In biology, once upon a time, there was a disease inside someone's body, and you could get all the children to be the disease, and then the antibiotic gets injected into the arm, and they fight each other, and so on and so forth. There's so much you can do with drama. Here in India, now at this school particularly, a lot of students are able to learn as auditory learners, and I'm sure that more than 5-8% of students at this school would be auditory learners, but so much stuff can be done with drama. What if you're asked by your teachers to prepare a report? Why don't you prepare a skit to go with that report to help the class understand? What if you're asked to give a presentation to the rest of the class? Why would you use a PowerPoint? Why couldn't you use a drama skit? So that's the end of the talk, but what I hope you've learned from this is that any single child in any school, in any classroom, can learn something if you treat them as part of a group, if you, the teacher, facilitate them, if you, the students, help each other to learn. By using drama, by working together, any student, I believe, can learn anything. Thank you very much.